Welcome, history enthusiasts, to a time of great change, the late 18th and early 19th centuries. This era, a cradle of revolution and transformation, saw the world order reshaped by ideological storms and the tumultuous birth of new nations. France, a jewel of Europe, was in the throes of a seismic shift, the French Revolution. This uprising against the monarchy ignited waves of nationalism, a powerful force that would shape the destinies of nations for centuries to come. It was a time when societal norms were upended and the old order was swept away, creating a vacuum ripe for new leadership. Amidst the chaos, the stage was being set for the emergence of a figure who would seize the reins of power and forever change the course of history. In this tumultuous time, a man named Napoleon Bonaparte would rise to power and leave an indelible mark on history. Born on August 15, 1769 in Corsica, Napoleon Bonaparte was destined for a life far from ordinary. Emerging from a minor noble family, the Bonapartes, Napoleon's early life was steeped in the rugged and fiercely independent culture of Corsica. His father, Charles Bonaparte, was an attorney who represented Corsica at the court of the French king. His mother, Letizia, was the stern disciplinarian of the family, a trait that would significantly influence young Napoleon. In 1779, 10-year-old Napoleon was sent across the Mediterranean Sea to mainland France, where he was enrolled in a religious school in autumn to learn French, the language of his future empire. Thereafter, he joined a military academy in Brienne-le-Château. Despite being an outsider, Napoleon's brilliance shone through. He was always at the top of his class, showing a particular aptitude for mathematics and geography. After completing his studies, Napoleon entered the French army at the age of 16. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the La Fère artillery regiment, one of the most prestigious artillery units in France. The French Revolution that erupted in 1789 became a turning point in Napoleon's life. He quickly aligned himself with the revolutionaries, believing it to be an opportunity for advancement. His strategic brilliance, coupled with his ability to inspire his men, quickly propelled him up the ranks. By the age of 24, Napoleon was already a brigadier general, a rank usually reserved for seasoned warriors. His rapid ascent was due to his victories in the Revolutionary Wars, particularly the Siege of Toulon, where he ousted the British naval forces from the city's port. Napoleon's early life was a testament to his sheer determination and intellect. He was not born into a life of privilege, but he never let that stand in his way. He seized every opportunity that came his way, using it to rise through the ranks and make his mark on history. A man of ambition and intelligence, Napoleon was well on his way to making history. The French Revolution provided the perfect stage for Napoleon's ambition. In the turmoil of post-revolutionary France, Napoleon Bonaparte, a young and ambitious artillery officer, saw an opportunity. The revolution had left France in chaos and disarray. The people were hungry for stability, for order, and for a leader who could guide them out of the darkness. Napoleon saw himself as that leader. In the late 1790s, he seized power in a coup d'état, ending the French Revolution and establishing a new political structure known as the Consulate. Napoleon, as first consul, effectively became the head of the French government. His rise to power was swift and calculated, but it didn't stop there. In the early years of the 19th century, Napoleon declared himself emperor. This was a bold move, but one that was largely accepted by a nation weary of revolution and eager for strong leadership. Napoleon's coronation as emperor was a grand spectacle, designed to impress upon the French people the magnitude of his power and authority. But Napoleon was not content with merely holding power. He sought to solidify it. He introduced a series of reforms aimed at stabilizing the economy, modernizing the legal system, and promoting education. These reforms, collectively known as the Napoleonic Code, are considered his greatest legacy. Napoleon was also a military genius. His victories in battles such as Austerlitz and Jena Auerstedt further enhanced his reputation and cemented his control over France. His strategic brilliance and innovative tactics earned him the respect and fear of his enemies and the adulation of his people. Napoleon's rise to power was not without its challenges. He faced opposition, both within France and from foreign powers. But through a combination of military might, political savvy, and sheer force of personality, he managed to overcome these obstacles and establish himself as one of the most powerful leaders in European history. Napoleon's rise was as swift as it was ruthless, forever changing the face of Europe. No empire lasts forever, and Napoleon's was no exception. Napoleon Bonaparte, once the master of Europe, found his fortunes reversed as the early 19th century unfolded. His military campaigns, which had once brought him so much glory, began to falter and fail. One of the key blows to Napoleon's empire was his disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812. In a tragic miscalculation, Napoleon underestimated the harsh Russian winter and the resilience of the Russian people. His grand army, once the terror of Europe, was decimated, marking the beginning of the end for Napoleon's reign. But even in defeat, Napoleon's indomitable spirit remained unbroken. In 1814, he was exiled to the Mediterranean island of Elba, yet this setback was but a brief pause in his tumultuous life. In a daring move, he escaped from Elba, returned to France, and seized power once again in a period known as the 100 Days. But his return to power was short-lived. At the Battle of Waterloo in June 1815, Napoleon was defeated by a coalition led by the Duke of Wellington. His once invincible armies were crushed, his dreams of empire shattered. Napoleon was then exiled for the final time to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. It was a stark contrast to the grandeur and power he had once enjoyed. He spent his final years on this isolated island, far from the country he had once ruled with an iron fist. Despite his eventual downfall, Napoleon's impact on Europe was profound and lasting. He had risen from obscurity to become one of the most powerful men in the world, only to fall from grace and end his days in exile. His story serves as a stark reminder of the fleeting nature of power and the relentless march of time. Napoleon's downfall was as dramatic as his rise, marking the end of an era in European history. Even in defeat, Napoleon left a lasting legacy. His influence can still be felt today, not only in France but across Europe and indeed the world. His reign and the changes he implemented shaped the very fabric of society, and his legacy continues to live on. Napoleon's impact on France was significant. He reformed the French legal system, implementing the Napoleonic Code, a civil law system that served as a model for many countries worldwide. It established the principles of civil liberties, equality before the law, and secularism, which are still fundamental in many legal systems today. His influence on education was equally profound. He established a centralized system of education in France, which served as a model for many other nations. He believed in the power of education and its ability to shape a nation, and his reforms ensured that every child in France had access to education. Beyond France, Napoleon's influence was felt across Europe. His conquests spread the ideals of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, and fraternity throughout the continent. This led to the rise of nationalism, as people across Europe began to identify more strongly with their nation, rather than their local region or feudal lord. Napoleon also revolutionized military strategy. His innovative use of the corps system, his emphasis on speed and mobility, and his ability to integrate all arms of the military into a single fighting force changed the face of warfare. But perhaps one of the most enduring aspects of Napoleon's legacy is the myth and legend that surround him. He was a man of contradictions, a revolutionary and a tyrant, a military genius and a gambler. His life story has captivated generations, and his legacy continues to inspire and intrigue us. Napoleon Bonaparte, a man of his time, yet a man whose legacy transcends time. His influence can be seen even in the modern world, in our legal systems, our educational institutions, and our understanding of nationhood and identity. His life and his legacy remind us that one man, given the right circumstances, can indeed change the world.